In making these balls of t-shirt yarn, I've come across a few different scenarios of the items of clothing you may have, so I thought we'd take a look at how you prepare those. So trousers, actually pretty straightforward, same as the other pieces, but then I have a one-sided piece because the back is a different fabric, and I'll probably save this for something else. This is more of a satin. So let's have a look at how we prepare those ones. With trousers then, you do exactly the same thing in cutting the strips, leaving a gap at the end. And it's almost easier because you don't have to lay the fabric. So it's really just a narrower version of a t-shirt, and then you just do exactly the same process at the end on joining the two on the diagonal, and that will make exactly the same sort of yarn. So I can just trim this one. So again, you're getting that continuous strip. The reason this technique works is because the item is a tube. So that is why trousers, the legs in particular, work exactly the same. And it is the same as well for any sleeves you have left over if you've used the body. But then that does raise the question of, what about when it's a flat item? So let's take a look. Here the item is laid out, and this is a little bit trickier, takes a little bit longer, but effectively what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up the width of the strip I need, and then I'm going to stop just before I reach the end, and I'm going to leave that gap. Then I'm going to move and cut down from the top, like so the gaps here, and then I'm going to cut here all the way down, again stopping just before I reach the end. And what that's going to do is going to create this kind of snake that goes up and down and up and down and up and down. It will be a little bit chunky on the end, on the gap here. You can trim off any of this kind of extra trim, but the balls, they have, in the kind of fabric, they have the seams from the sides anyway, so like these have chunky elements. But if you did want something a little bit neater, you could trim off the end, that folded edge, and you can also kind of make a little point, just so there's a little bit less fabric in that turning section. So just again, estimating the width you want. I'll just show you what I mean in case you're a visual learner. Getting a little bit thin there. Yes, cutting right through the holes. Not worried about them at all. And then I'm going to spin it around. So I have that gap. I've left that. And you can adjust that. So I tend to stop a little bit shorter than I maybe do at the end. I can adjust that after I've made the concertina, I think it probably is. And again, cutting just down until there's a few centimeters left. The other good place this backwards and forwards technique is good for is this kind of extra bits. So when you finish the tube underneath the arms, you could do that concertina on this side, just cutting backwards and forwards on here, really just to get the most out of the fabric. I've had a slight change of plan since making this yarn, because my idea was it would be quite wrapped, but it's still, there's not very much thickness or padding in that, and that may be to do with the thickness of my yarn strips, or the fact that the video I watched may have had kind of a padding in the center. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to plait a couple of different yarns. So I might get these three and then just going to plait. So I will do that quite tightly. And then if I have any little gaps, I do have some kind of little shorter strips from sleeves. I really would like to achieve a soft underfoot. I'm immediately regretting this choice. Like, I have what, 6 centimeters of flat and a meter's worth of mess.